Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Salgado and welcome to JSal Art Town, where I'll break down my drawing process, share tips I've picked up on my artistic journey, and give some thoughts and encouragement to take with you on yours. This week we're getting spooky with Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. In this episode we're going to be talking about organizing layers in Photoshop. Let's get into it. I've gotten back into Pokemon recently, which has been a real good time. So I wanted to continue with these warm-up exercises and experiment with different effects and techniques while drawing some of my favorite characters. These are all meant to be really quick warm-ups geared towards trying some new things, to build up confidence and just to have some fun. Since Ghastly is just a ball with eyes and a mouth and smoke, I created a fill layer using the ellipsis tool that you can find on your toolbar, and I'm using that as a base. Then I'll create a new layer to quickly sketch out Ghastly's face. I always rename my layers as well so I can come back to them and mess with them easily later. Next, I'll create a new layer on top of that. Lower the opacity of the sketch layer and draw cleaner lines on top. When working on your cleaned up line work, it's always important to make sure your lines are connecting, closing off the shape. You'll see why later. You'll notice my little smoke wisps and Ghastly pick on the side of my screen as well. It's always good to have a reference pic. So in this instance, I've drawn all my clean line work on one layer, but I want to be able to separate and resize the eyes. So I'm going to use the lasso tool and trace around the eyes, then cut and paste to create a new layer, and make sure to name it. In Photoshop, to resize a layer or a lassoed item, you'll need to hit Ctrl-T on PC or Command-T on a Mac to transform it. Now once you have your matte colors laid down, you can select specific areas with the Magic Wand tool to add effects such as shading, highlights, and shine, or just change the colors in general. So now that I've colored everything in, you'll notice I have everything on separate layers, with the shapes and smoke closest to me on the top of the list, and likewise the shapes farthest from me or in the background towards the bottom of my layer list. While recording this, I accidentally paused the recording for a section of building the smoke, so here's how I like to draw the smoke. I like to go for the airbrush or pressure sensitive opacity brush. Turn up the size and give a good scribbling with varying pressure for the opacity. I have my smoke reference pictures to guide my shapes while I'm working as well. And I'm working from the center of the circle because I want Ghastly to look like it's coming towards me. I have a few separate layers of smoke in front and behind the main shape to make the illustration seem a little more three-dimensional. I'll also change the opacity in the back layer so I don't wash out the front with all that purple. And there you have it. Ghastly. Next up, I'll take what I've learned with Ghastly and try to expand on that a little more and apply it to my interpretation of Haunter. As a time saver, you can see I've drawn the head spikes on one side, and then I just right click the layer, duplicate the layer, transformed it, and mirrored the layer horizontally for the other side. Again, you can see that I'm using a reference picture here to create the tongue. For you Pokemon masters out here, I also used the biological description from Bulbapedia as a stepping off point for my design. It reads, Haunter is a purple Pokemon with a gaseous body. It has a round head flanked by 3 large spiked protrusions on either side. It has triangular eyes with small pupils and a mouth with a long pink tongue. The gases composing its head curves into its mouth to form several pointed teeth. Disembodied hands with 3 clawed fingers each float in front of its body. Its body tapers into a jagged tail. If a human or Pokemon comes near Haunter, it will stalk the victim while floating and beckon it to come closer. Once approached, it will then lick the victim with its gaseous tongue, inflicting convulsions in the victim that last until death. Creepy. Now if you use the magic wand tool to select the area outside of your shape and all of your lines aren't connected, it doesn't work right. It'll select the lines themselves as a shape. So here, I go back and I use the same pencil and size to close off the shape. It's simple here because I have a single layer with a single shape, but if you have a full illustrated body on a layer with a lot of detail, it may be a bit more complicated to find the gaps. So it's always good to keep that in mind. I also wanted to try and illustrate these characters without line art, so I can mix with the opacity and make them seem a little more ghost-like. So I add some shadows and contrast to separate the shapes and give them a little bit more of a three-dimensional quality. Another nice thing about having all of your layers separate is that you can just readjust all the shapes to suit your needs. can see here, we have multiple layers of smoke, like we did with Ghastly. There we got it, Haunter. Now, we take things a step further with Gengar. Using the skills I picked up experimenting with the last two Pokemon, I'm going to see if I can expand on them a little more. Gengar seems a little more mischievous than creepy to me. In the Bulbapedia description, it notes that Gengar can follow people around by becoming their shadow, playing pranks and sometimes cursing them. Once discovered, it delights in its victims' terrors. Alright, so that's a little creepy. As with Haunter, I've tried to keep some continuity in the design by making Gengar's spiky ears somewhat separate from the body. I'm also keeping all of the layers separate with different parts of his body so that I can individually color and manipulate them later. I'd like to say that Gengar took me the hour time limit I gave myself with the other drawings, but I really got hung up on the mouth. I felt like his smile really needed to be a convincing focus point of the picture. I also keep referring to this Pokemon as a he or a him because this is a Pokemon from my Pokemon X journey. And because he's such a creepy Pokemon, I gave him a creepy little name. Called him Huggy Bee. Now I'm going to go through with the airbrush as an eraser and lightly go through the body so that I can give him a little bit more of a transparent quality. I also copied a layer of the body to put in a background to give the body a little bit more of a pop with color. also going to use the smoke trick from the last couple of drawings and really riding the whole gaseous body descriptor. Now with some new layers, I'm going to add a soft light effect to his eyes to give it more of a creepy, magical quality. You just create a layer and then change the layer from normal or multiply to soft light or hard light, you can get these effects. And bam! You got Gengar. If you enjoyed this video, think about following me on Instagram at Brobaka for updates on upcoming and ongoing projects. Head over to my website at jessesalgado.com to take a look at my portfolio, or if you'd like me to draw you something. And if you're financially able to do so, think about becoming a citizen of JSal Art Town by becoming a patron on my Patreon page. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel for more videos.